Okay, today we're going to talk about solving standard form equations, those that have both an x squared and an x term. The first thing to watch out for is make sure the equation equals 0. If the equation doesn't isn't equal to 0, then you won't be able to use the zero product property to solve. And then once we have it equal to 0, we try to factor. Factoring would be either taking out a greatest common factor or the AC method, and the AC method. Sometimes you use both. However, if it doesn't factor, then we have to remember the quadratic formula. We've all seen this before. You've used it in Algebra 1, you've used it in geometry, and we just have to remind ourselves about it now. All right. The important thing is that you make it equal to 0. So, in this first example down here, my first job is going to be to subtract 3. Place it under the like term on the other side. So I'll have x squared minus 4x minus 1 equals 0. If I try to use the AC method, well, that's going to be 1 times negative 1. So I'd be looking for things that multiply to negative 1 that add up to be negative 4. Well, that's not going to work. So we switch gears to the AC method. Our A is a 1, our B is the negative 4, and our C is the negative 1. And then we plug things in to the quadratic formula. X equals negative B. Well, B is negative 4, so that'll be negative negative 4, which of course will turn into positive 4. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, so negative 4 squared. Feel free to go ahead and do that in your head and write 16 down. Minus 4 times A, which is a 1, times C, which is a negative 1, all divided by 2 times A, which is 2 times 1. So, now I recommend getting this part of it simplified. We have 4 plus or minus the square root of something divided by 2. So we grab our calculator and we figure that something out. Remember, if you are going to put negative 4 squared, like is written on my screen right now, that negative 4 needs to be in parentheses with the square on the outside. Subtract 4 times 1 times negative 1. I'm typing it exactly like I wrote it on my screen, and I get the answer to be 20. So I have a positive number inside my square root, so I'm going to get 2 answers. Again, to my calculator, I'm going to type negative 4 plus the square root of 20, and I'm going to press equals, and I'm going to divide by 2. So my first solution is 4.236. And then I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm going to type 4 subtract the square root of 20, and press equals, and then divide by 2. So my second answer is negative 0.236. Okay, so let's try this again. This time f of x equals 2, so we plug our 2 in. 2 equals. Well, that's not how we start, right? Don't we have to make it equal to 0? So our next step, subtract 2 from both sides. So 0 equals 2x squared plus 4x minus 9. Combine like terms there. So we can think about AC method. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. Are there numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add to be 4? I don't think so. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Nope, none of them do. So no factoring for us. So the quadratic formula. A is 2, B is 4, C is -9. So we plug things in. X equals -b. So this time there's a negative in the formula, and b was +4, so it looks like -4. Plus or minus, that way we always get our two answers. Plus or minus always in front of a square root, right? B squared, so 4 squared minus 4 times a, which is a 2, times c, which is a -9, all divided by 2a, which is 2 times 2 in this problem. Okay, so we make it neater. 2 times 2 is 4. Let's switch it out. And we take all this part inside the radical and figure out what it is. I recommend just typing it in your calculator. 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times -9. 88. Whoops. Okay, it's a positive number in my square root, so I'm going to get two answers. I'm going to type -4 plus the square root of 88. And I'm going to press equals, divide by 4. You have to press equals before you divide by 4 so that the calculator will, in fact, add the numbers on the top together before it divides. If you don't hit equals, it divides the square root number before it adds, so it gets a very different answer. -4, subtract the square root of 88, equals, divide by 4, -3.345. Two answers, one for each side of the parabola. There we have it. Okay, one more time. Here we have 14 being plugged in. Step 1. Never try the quadratic formula until it equals 0. So subtracting 14 is our first step. 0 equals x squared minus 6x minus 10. AC method. Give it a try. 1 times -10 would be -10. Are there numbers that multiply to -10 and add to -6? 1 and 10. Yeah, nope. Nowhere I put the negative will work out. 2 and 5. Nope. If I put the negative on the 5, I get -3. If I put the negative on the 2, I get +3. I can't get a -6. So, nope. So, once again, A, B, C. Let's use quadratic formula. Remember, A is that invisible 1 that's right there, even if you don't see it. So x equals -b. Here's another one where b is negative. So -6. Plus or minus the square root of -6 squared, b squared. Minus 4 times a, which is a 1, times c, which is a -10. All over 2 times a, which is a 1. Okay, so negative. X equals +6. First thing, neatened up, tidied up, there we go. 2 times 1 is a 2. And grab your calculator and type in this part inside the radical. Remember to use parentheses around that negative number with the square on the outside if you haven't done -6 squared and gotten 36 in your own brain. So I get 76 inside my square root. So again, I'll be able to type it into my calculator and get two answers. 6 plus the square root of 76 equals, divided by 2, 7.359, and 6 minus the square root of 76 equals, divided by 2, -1.35.